Hey guys, we're off the dribble. We're back with another video. In last video, we talked about Heat versus Sixers, so be sure to watch that. It'll be in the card above. And also, we're talking about the Mavs versus Suns today. I'm with my co-host Chris. Say hello to everyone.
It's popping, y'all. I'm ready to let's get into the games. Let me not give away my cards real quick.
Okay. So,
oh god. Ugh.
Oh, cut that out. So,
No sir.
stop. The first two games of this series, it was looking like it was going to go to 5 games at best. Jalen Brunson was a non-factor the first 2 games. He was in huge foul trouble in game 1. He couldn't stay on the floor. The second game, he wasn't much of a factor. Game 1, Maxi Kleber was huge. And then basically, it was Maxi Kleber and Luka show in the game 1. And they started to hit some threes down the stretch in game 1 to bring the game closer than what it actually was. But the final score wasn't indicative of what the actual game was. It was like a 15 to 20 point swing throughout the whole game in favor of the Suns. And at the end, the Mavs started to get their groove and get back. And Luka dropped 45 in game 1. Game 2, pretty much the same. Luka was cooking. Other people just couldn't get it to go. Chris Paul was attacking Luka on that pick and roll to make him work on defense. And Luka obviously couldn't stop him. Chris Paul had like a monster fourth quarter. Forgot how much he had, but he was dominant in that fourth quarter. Then game 3 came around. It was Chris Paul's birthday, and this man was not functioning at all. He had, I think, the most turnovers in a half. I think he had 6 turnovers in a half, or 4 turnovers in a half. It's one of the two. He was basically, he was not good at all. I think he had less than 10 points, I believe, in that game too. Last game, which was yesterday, he couldn't stay on the floor. He had 4 fouls in the first half, which is the first time he's ever done that in his career, regular season or playoffs. And obviously, you have 4 in the first half. You're going to foul out, especially the person with an aggressive nature like Chris Paul. Not saying he's a freak of nature anymore, that he can just barrel anything like that. It's more of the way Chris Paul draws his fouls. For example, there's one on Jalen Brunson that he had where I thought for sure Jalen Brunson was going to pick up that foul, but they called it an offensive foul. I forgot the reason why, but you know what I'm talking about.
They said that he changed his trajectory and cut off the defensive player and didn't give the defender time to move out the way before he crashed into him.
Which they wouldn't have done in years past. Before, you always see it where it's okay, people would intentionally stop to draw that foul and they'd get it. I think the Suns' game plan of just letting Luka cook and everyone else be dormant essentially, that was very effective for them because it was just Luka, he's not going to score every single possession. He could score 40, but that would be half his team's points. Yeah. So their game plan, it was okay, let's just let Luka cook, as dangerous as that sounds, and we're not going to let the Mavs get off from 3. Games 3 and 4, completely different story. The Mavs were hitting 14 threes and a half. They're doing something crazy. Finney Smith hit 5 threes, I think, in the first half yesterday.
Yeah.
Cleve was hitting threes. No one could miss from 3, essentially, for the Mavs. There were 20 of 42 from 3 at some point in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. So that's 46% or something like that from 3. That was wild. That is insane. Yeah. That's 60 points already from 3, and I'm pretty sure they made a 3 after that. So the idea of, from the Mavs perspective, the idea of, Luka, he's only going to give you 25 points just in his pure scoring. That's not accounted for points generated through assists. Luka, you give us 25, but you're going to play make, kickouts, and different forms like that so we can get people open for threes. And they punished them. The Mavs were hitting those threes. And if you add up all those threes, that's way more dangerous than, Luka, you take 50 shots and generate us something. And literally everyone playing a hand in the demise of the Suns offensively. You can talk about the Suns' perspective, what went wrong after the first 2 games when it seemed like the Suns basically were in charge of the whole series.
They're just giving up a lot of threes, and Dallas, to their credit, has been making them. Again, the same thing we just talked about in the previous video with the Heat and Sixers. The role players are knocking down their threes. Bertans is shooting from half court. Kleber can't miss from 3. Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know if that was his career high in 3-point makes, but it wouldn't surprise me. He made 8 threes yesterday. The role players are making their shots. Luka, he didn't shoot well from the field these last 2 games, but he still had an impact on the game in terms of had pretty much a triple-double in the last 2 games. He was 1 assist or 1 rebound off each game, but yeah, he's impacting the game in a lot of different ways. And I don't think they're doing as good of a job of attacking Luka as they did in the first 2 games. There's a lot of times where, the Suns are still getting relatively easy shots and when they run pick and rolls, because I don't know, I haven't been paying close enough attention as to why it's been happening. But there's a lot of times where DeAndre Ayton or JaVale will have like Jalen Brunson guarding them, like after a switch. Yeah, Chris Paul has been terrible. Like you talked about the fouls. Okay, I want to talk about that. This has been one of the most weirdly officiated series I've ever seen. I don't remember if it was game 2 or game 3. There were literally 6 offensive fouls called in like 2 minutes, 2 to 2.5 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. Chris Paul, I think one of the fouls he picked up in the first quarter last night was I forgot exactly what happened, but he drove and Luka helped off the corner, and then Chris Paul kicked out to Mikal Bridges in the corner. And like they called a foul on Chris Paul, an offensive foul while he's passing to the corner. Basically, that was a natural passing motion. Like I don't think there was any reason why that should have been called an offensive foul. And then the Brunson call, that one, I could, like, if that's where the league wants to go, then I guess sure.
Just make it consistent.
And then on the other end, remember when Luka got teed up? Like he bumped into Ayton, and then Jay Crowder literally like slammed him into the ground afterwards. And then Luka was like, "What the hell?" Like, and then he got teed up for it. The refs have been terrible in this series. I don't think that's the main reason why the Suns lost these 2 games. 1, Chris Paul has been bad, and 2, their 3-point defense has been bad. So I think they need to get those 2 things together, which I think they will.
People are giving complaints about like the free throws from like either side. Like you said, the fouls being drawn from both teams. It's funny, as hell that Jason Kidd said, "Oh, we're learning from like the point guard master on the other team. Like he's teaching us how to draw the fouls." So I found that very funny because like he played against Chris Paul obviously, and then it's like, okay, everyone knows Chris Paul is like the foul baiter kind of, essentially, because he's very, very smart in terms of like how to manipulate the game. Like he said on the JJ Redick podcast, like there's swipe throughs and different forms like that. Chris Paul, he's so brilliant where it's like he can draw a foul in any manner, but sometimes it's like in this series it's working against him because not only are Brunson and co doing the same thing to him to draw these fouls against him or to get these turnovers off of him, but also like you said earlier, it's like going up against both teams in terms of like people drawing the fouls and stuff like that. I think like game 3, like Jay Crowder was like their leading scorer. It's just pretty scary. Yeah, it's not good. Like Devin Booker has been MIA last like 2 games. He hasn't been, because he always starts off the game well. Like he started the last 2 games with a 3. Like he hit a 3 to start both of the last 2 games, but then he kind of was silent throughout the rest of the way. DeAndre Ayton, he had a huge monster first 2 games because obviously he had smaller defenders on him like Maxi Kleber, but this game, last 2 games, he hasn't been that effective. And like Mikal Bridges offensively, he hasn't shot the ball well. So Cameron Payne, he hasn't stepped up. Like with Chris Paul in foul trouble, like this is your opportunity, okay, give him some productive minutes, yada yada yada. But he hasn't really done that. If Scott Foster is reffing, I'll have the Mavs winning. If he's not reffing and it's just like a normal ass game, then I predict the Suns are going to win. I think the role players are going to have a big bounce back game. I expect Booker to bounce back and Ayton to bounce back and have big games for the team. And I just don't think that the Mavs role players are going to hit whatever 33s in the game again. That's why I have the Suns winning the next game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to games 1 and 2. I think Luka has a big game, but potentially Brunson as well because he hasn't shot the ball well this series either. But yeah, I think they potentially have big games, but you know the Suns do as well. Like Chris Paul bounces back, Devin Booker has a big night, Ayton performs well. And I think the Suns win this game 5 as well.
I'm just kind of scared for both of these teams going to series against the Warriors. We believe that the Warriors are going to win that series against Memphis. There's no guarantee. If they lose, I'm an idiot, yada, yada, yada. But I think the Warriors are going to win that series. I'm just scared for the Suns because if they need to be at home for the role players to go off or to have sensational games, they can't beat the Warriors. Because if they go to Footprint Center the first 2 games, the Warriors are going to take one of those 2 for sure. If the Mavs advance, like, I'm scared. Like, can they take one at Chase Center before they go back to Dallas? Because if they can't do that, then they're going to lose the series. Because they can't win. They can't go 0-2 and expect to go, we're going to win 2 games at American Airlines Center and we're going to split the series 2 apiece. Like, that's not going to happen against the Warriors. So the Suns, they are the number 1 seed. They earned that seed against a 64-win team. I expect them to pick it up and be the Suns that we know them to be. But I believe it's going to be a 7-game series. I think the Suns take the next one. The Mavs will take game 6. And game 7's anyone's game. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like. Check out our last preview analysis and recap on the Sixers versus Heat series.
Appreciate y'all for watching. Love y'all. See y'all next time. Peace.